The Hollow's hunger. In the dying town of Cold Hollow, West Virginia, the coal mines had long gone silent, leaving behind a husk of a community choked by poverty and despair. The forest that loomed over the town was a tangled scar of gnarled trees and black mud, a place where even the bravest hunters refused to tread after dusk. Locals called it the Hollow, and they spoke of it in hushed tones, as if numbing it might summon something worse. They weren't wrong. Jake Mercer, a wiry 19-year-old with a rap sheet for petty theft and a chip on his shoulder, didn't care about the stories. He'd grown up hearing about the Slenderman, a faceless freak in a suit that snatched kids and left nothing but whispers. Old wives' tales, he thought, cooked up to scare dumbasses into staying out of the woods. But when his ex-girlfriend's little sister, Lily, vanished during a dare in the Hollow, Jake found himself dragged into the nightmare he'd mocked. Lily was 9, all pigtails and defiance, the kind of kid who'd sneak into the forest just to prove she could. When she didn't come home, the town didn't bother with a search party. Too many had gone missing in the Hollow over the years, kids, drunks, even a deputy once. No one came back. But Jake, haunted by memories of Lily's gap-toothed grin, couldn't let it go. He grabbed a flashlight, a crowbar from his dad's garage, and a fifth of whiskey for courage, then headed into the trees as the sun bled out behind the hills. The Hollow was a maze of shadows, the air thick with the stench of rot and something sharper like burnt copper. Jake's boots sank into the mud as he called Lily's name, his voice swallowed by the dense canopy. The deeper he went, the more the forest seemed to writhe, branches curling like fingers, roots twisting underfoot. His flashlight flickered, casting jagged shapes that moved when they shouldn't have. Then he heard it, a low, droning hum, like a hive of wasps burrowing into his skull. He found the clearing by accident, stumbling over a root into a patch of ground littered with bones, small ones, child-sized, picked clean and scattered like kindling. In the center stood a figure impossibly tall, its black suit pristine against the filth of the forest. No face, just a smooth, pale void where a head should have been. Its arms hung low, fingertips brushing the dirt, twitching like they were tasting the air. Jake's stomach lurched, the whiskey burning back up his throat. He gripped the crowbar, but his hands shook so bad he could barely hold it. "Lily," he shouted, voice cracking. The Slenderman didn't move, but the hum grew louder, a sickening pulse that made his vision swim. Images flashed in his mind, Lily screaming, her small body dragged through the mud, her eyes wide with terror. Jake staggered, bile rising, unsure if the visions were real or if the thing was carving them into his head. He swung the crowbar, a wild arc that hit nothing but air. The Slenderman flickered, reappearing closer, its blank face inches from his own. He stumbled back, tripping over a pile of bones, and saw something that broke him. Lily's pink sneaker, caked in mud, half buried in the dirt. He scrambled to his feet, screaming her name, but the forest seemed to twist around him, the clearing looping back on itself no matter which way he ran. The hum was unbearable now, a screeching static that clawed at his thoughts. He saw more flashes, Lily's face, bloodied and blank than others, kids he vaguely recognized, their mouths open in silent screams. The Slenderman loomed closer, its arms stretching, splitting into tendrils that slithered through the air like eels. Jake swung again, uselessly, and felt something cold wrap around his ankle, yanking him to the ground. He clawed at the mud, the crowbar slipping from his grasp. The thing was above him now, its faceless head tilting as if studying him. The tendrils tightened, cutting into his skin, and he felt his mind fraying, memories of Lily mixing with images of his own death, his body torn apart, his bones added to the pile. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the hum. Then a small voice cut through the noise. "Jake!" Lily, barely audible, curled up in the shadows at the edge of the clearing. Her eyes were glassy, her skin pale as bone. Jake lunged toward her, but the Slenderman's tendrils snapped him back, wrapping his chest, his throat. He choked, vision darkening as Lily reached out, her fingers trembling. The last thing Jake saw was the Slenderman's blank face, tilting toward Lily as its arms stretched to claim her too. The hum swallowed everything, his screams, her cries, the world itself. When morning came, the Hollow was silent. No search party went looking for Jake. The town added 2 more names to its list of the lost and moved on as it always did. But in the clearing, the bones were gone, the ground smooth as if nothing had ever been there. Only the hum remained, faint but ever present, waiting for the next fool to step into the hollow's hunger. The next story's name is Slender's Eternal Feast. In the forsaken expanse of the Blackwood Forest, where ancient oaks twisted like broken spines, and the ground was perpetually slick with decaying leaves and unspoken secrets, the legend of Slenderman wasn't just a tale. It was a warning etched into the collective nightmare of every soul who dared whisper his name. The forest stretched across forgotten counties in upstate New York, a labyrinth of shadows where compasses spun wildly and GPS signals died like screams in the night. People vanished here not cleanly, but in ways that left behind echoes of agony. Blood-smeared trees, scattered viscera and bones gnawed to splinters. Dr. Elias Thorne, a 45-year-old forensic pathologist with a penchant for unraveling the macabre, had come to Blackwood chasing rumors. He'd heard the stories in dingy bars from hollow-eyed locals: tall figure in a suit, no face, arms like serpents that could stretch and rend. Elias dismissed it as folklore masking serial killings, perhaps a deranged hermit. Armed with a medical kit, a high-powered flashlight, and a .45 revolver, he ventured in at dusk, the sky bleeding red as if the forest itself was wounded. The air was thick, fetid with the stench of rot and something metallic like fresh spilled blood. Elias' boots squelched through mud that clung like desperate hands. Hours in, the trees closed ranks, branches interlocking overhead to blot out the stars. A low hum began, subtle at first, vibrating in his chest like a distant engine. He shook it off, pressing deeper. He found the first body, or what was left of it, in a small glade. A young woman, mid-20s, splayed out like a dissected frog. Her abdomen was split open from sternum to pelvis, ribs cracked outward like blooming petals. Intestines trailed across the ground in looping patterns, still steaming in the chill air. Her face was frozen in a rictus of terror, eyes bulging, tongue swollen and bitten through. Flies swarmed the cavity where her liver and kidneys had been crudely excised, ragged edges suggesting teeth rather than tools. Elias knelt, gloved hands probing the wounds. The cuts were irregular, laced with a black ichor that burned his skin through the latex. As he examined her, the hum grew louder, pulsing in his skull. Visions assaulted him, the woman running, screaming, as elongated arms whipped out from the shadows, barbs hooking into her flesh. They tore her open slowly, savoring the screams, tendrils worming inside to pluck organs while she still breathed. Elias retched, the bile mixing with the gore underfoot. Shaking, he stood, revolver drawn. "Show yourself," he bellowed. The forest answered with silence, broken only by the drip of blood from leaves above. He moved on, the hum now a chorus of whispers, murmuring names, his name, his dead wife's name, secrets he'd buried deep. Deeper in, he stumbled upon a clearing that reeked of slaughterhouse horrors. Bodies hung from trees like grotesque fruit in various states of dismemberment. One man, obese and pale, dangled by hooks through his eyelids, his belly slit, fat and entrails cascading down in a fatty waterfall. Maggots writhed in the mess, feasting. Another, a child no older than 10, was impaled on a branch through the mouth, emerging from the rectum, spine shattered, limbs akimbo. Blood had pooled below, congealing into a sticky mire where small animals lapped greedily. Elias' mind reeled. He recognized forensic patterns, exsanguination, vivisection, but with an unnatural precision. Then he saw movement, a flicker in the periphery. Turning, he faced it, Slenderman, towering over 12 feet, suit black as void, pale head smooth and featureless. Arms extended, splitting into dozens of tentacles, each ending in hooked barbs dripping that same black ichor. The hum became deafening, a psychic assault. Elias fired, bullets vanishing into the figure's form like stones in tar. Slenderman advanced, tentacles lashing. One struck Elias' shoulder, tearing through jacket and flesh, exposing bone in a spray of arterial blood. Pain exploded, hot and white. He staggered back, clutching the wound, blood poolsing between fingers. Visions intensified. His wife's cancer-riddled body on the autopsy table, but now animated, screaming as Slenderman's tendrils invaded her corpse, reanimating it in grotesque parody. Elias screamed, firing again. A tentacle coiled around his ankle, yanking him off his feet. Dragged through the gore-slicked ground, he felt mud and viscera smear his face, chunks of rotting flesh lodging in his mouth. Slenderman loomed over him, head tilting curiously. The blank face split open vertically, revealing a maw lined with jagged, obsidian teeth, rows upon rows receding into infinity. Drool of black slime oozed, sizzling on contact with skin. Tentacles pinned Elias down, barbs piercing his wrists and thighs, crucifying him to the earth. He felt them burrow, worming under skin, along veins, injecting agony like liquid fire. One tendril snaked up his leg, coiling around his groin, squeezing until flesh burst, testicles rupturing in wet pops, blood and semen mixing in excruciating release. Elias howled, vision blurring with tears. Another invaded his abdomen, punching through navel without resistance, coiling around intestines. It pulled slowly, unraveling his guts like yarn, loops of bowel emerging slick and steaming, perforated in places where barbs had torn. He watched in horror as Slenderman fed, the maw descending to lap at the exposed organs. Teeth grazed his liver, nipping chunks, blood flooding his cavity. The pain was beyond comprehension, every nerve screaming as his body was dismantled alive. A tentacle forced its way up his throat, emerging from his mouth, gagging him on his own blood and bile. In his delirium he saw the others, the hung bodies twitching, not dead but in eternal torment, fused to the trees by tendrils that pumped ichor, preserving them in agony. The child impaled whimpered, eyes pleading. Slenderman's harvest, an eternal feast of suffering. As dawn crept, Elias' screams faded. His body, hollowed out, organ-strewn like confetti, was hoisted into the canopy. The forest absorbed him, tendrils weaving through his remains, keeping just enough life to feel the endless pain. The hum continued, a siren call for the next victim, the Slenderman's appetite insatiable. Days later, search parties found nothing but bloodied earth and whispers in the wind. Blackwood claimed another, its guardian feeding on the gore of the damned forever. The next story's name is Whispers in the Woods, the 8 Pages of Madness. The forest of Oak Ridge was a forgotten relic, a sprawling wilderness on the outskirts of a dying mill town in rural Washington. Towering pines clawed at the sky, their needles carpeting the ground in a thick, muffling layer that swallowed sounds like a grave. It was here, in the dead of night, that Sarah Klein found herself, flashlight in hand, heart pounding like a war drum. She'd come for answers. Her best friend, Kate, had vanished weeks ago while hiking these trails, leaving behind only a cryptic note. The pages, find them, he's coming. Sarah didn't believe in monsters. At 28, she was a skeptic, a barista with a side gig in photography, capturing the mundane horrors of everyday life. But Kate's disappearance had shaken her. The police dismissed it as a runaway case, but Sarah knew better. Kate had been obsessed with an old urban legend, the Slenderman, a faceless entity that stalked the woods, driving victims to madness. And the game, Slender, the 8 pages, that Kate played obsessively before she vanished. Sarah had laughed it off, but now, armed with a backpack, a map, and Kate's journal, she stepped into the darkness, determined to uncover the truth. The air was chill, laced with the scent of pine sap and damp earth. Her flashlight beam cut through the fog, illuminating twisted roots and low-hanging branches that grabbed at her like skeletal fingers. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional hoot of an owl or the rustle of leaves. Sarah checked Kate's journal, sketches of a tall figure, notes about collecting the pages to escape. Ridiculous, but she'd play along. Maybe Kate had hidden clues in the woods. She found the first landmark, a rusted chain-link fence surrounding an abandoned park area, overgrown and forgotten. Climbing over, she landed with a soft thud, her boots sinking into mud. Deeper in, she spotted it, a page tacked to a tree, fluttering in the faint breeze. It was a crude drawing, a tall, suited figure with no face, surrounded by scribbled words. No, 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 no. The ink looked fresh, smeared as if drawn in haste. Sarah's skin prickled. What the hell, Kate? She muttered, pocketing the page. As she did, a low hum began, distant at first, like static from an old radio. Shaking it off, she pressed on. The hum grew, vibrating in her chest. The forest seemed to shift, paths looping unnaturally. She found the second page on a rock outcrop. "Leave me alone," scrawled above a sketch of a person fleeing a shadowy form. The drawing depicted tendrils emerging from the figure's back. Sarah's breath quickened. This wasn't Kate's handwriting, or was it? The hum intensified, and in the distance she thought she saw a silhouette, tall and unnatural, vanishing behind a tree. Panic crept in, but she couldn't stop. 3 pages in, always WATCHES, no eyes, with a blank face starring from the paper, and the gruesome reality began to unfold. As she plucked it from a dilapidated silo wall, something warm dripped onto her hand. Blood. No, just sap. But the hum was louder, a pulsing drone that made her head ache. Visions flickered, Kate running, screaming, her skin tearing as invisible forces pulled at her. The fourth page was nailed to a bathroom stall in a ruined outhouse. "Don't look or it takes you." The drawing showed eyes being gouged out, blood streaming. Sarah gagged, the metallic scent now real. She turned, and there he was, Slenderman. Towering, suit impeccable, arms elongated like branches, no face but somehow watching. She bolted, heart exploding in her chest. The forest turned hostile. Roots tripped her, branches lashed her face, drawing blood. She found the fifth page in a tunnel. Follows, with footprints leading to a faceless man. The hum was deafening, her vision blurring. Slenderman appeared closer, his form flickering like bad video static. A tentacle whipped out, grazing her arm, slicing deep. Blood welled, hot and sticky, flesh parting to reveal muscle. Sarah screamed, stitching the wound with tape from her pack, but the pain was fire. Sixth page, on a truck bed. "Help me." A child's drawing of a figure being dragged, limbs dislocated, bones protruding through skin. Sarah's mind fractured, flashes of Kate's body, contorted skin flayed in strips by unseen barbs. She ran, but Slenderman was everywhere, his tentacles coiling through the air. One wrapped her leg, barbs digging in, tearing tendons. She hacked at it with her knife, black ichor spraying, burning her skin like acid, blistering flesh into raw, weeping sores. Limping, blood soaking her jeans, she grabbed the seventh. "Can't run," ironic now, with a figure collapsing, legs mangled, femurs shattered and jutting out. The hum assaulted her psyche, planting horrors. Kate's eyes popped from sockets by pressure, optic nerves dangling. Her abdomen split, intestines spilling in steaming coils, writhing like snakes. The eighth page was the worst, pinned to a massive oak. No eyes, but altered, gore-filled, with real blood smudged, and a note. "Sarah, he's here." As she touched it, Slenderman materialized, his blank head splitting open into a maw of jagged voids. Tentacles surged, pinning her against the tree. Barbs pierced her shoulders, crunching bone, blood cascading. One burrowed into her side, puncturing lung, air hissing out in bloody froth. She fought, knife slashing, severing a tendril that regrew instantly. The maw descended, teeth grazing her face, peeling scalp in ragged flaps, exposing skull. Pain was everything, nerves screaming as flesh was stripped, muscle exposed, twitching. A tentacle forced into her mouth, down her throat, rupturing esophagus, filling her with ichor that burned like lava, dissolving from within. Visions climaxed. Kate's final moments, vivisected alive, organs harvested while conscious, heart beating in Slenderman's grasp. Sarah's body convulsed, limbs twisting unnaturally, joints popping, bones splintering. Her eyes were last, tendrils hooking in, yanking them free, nerves snapping like strings, world going black but pain eternal. Morning came. Searchers found nothing but bloodied pages scattered, new drawings added. Sarah's mangled form. The forest hummed softly, waiting for the next collector, its guardians feast unending, gore-soaked roots drinking deep. The end? No. In Oak Ridge, whispers spread, more pages appeared, more victims called. Slenderman's game continued, each play more gruesome, each soul torn asunder in the wood's eternal night.